All right, recording in progress. Hey, everybody, this is another Q&A for the indie film, Divine Toad, as part of the 25th San Francisco Independent Film Festival 2023. We're very fortunate to have a couple of filmmakers here, the co-directors of the Divine Toad, Adam and Tyler. Hey, guys.
Hey,
Hello.
hey everyone.
Hey, Adam, where are you calling in? I know you made a long journey for this Q&A.
Yeah, I'm calling all the way from Sao Paulo, Brazil. So good to see everyone and look forward to seeing you at the festival.
Thanks for being here. Tyler, how about you? Where are you coming in from?
Well, I'm actually at my daughter's piano lessons, so I snuck into one of the recital rooms. So if you need this Q&A scored, if you need some music on your guy, just ask me. I'll work for cheap. Maybe a sandwich or two will get me through.
All right. Nice. That's probably one of the best intros we've had.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you know what? Yeah, we'll pepper in some tunes up when it gets boring. I'll just fill it in with some.
That's
sound.
right. Well, I don't think this is going to get boring for some reason, but you can at least maybe fade us out towards the end of the Q&A. You can do a little tune as we exit. Fun movie, a little bit goofy and wacky. Where the hell did the idea come from?
I guess we've always wanted to tell, or I guess I should say, I've always wanted to tell the story of kind of a death of a salesman story. So, I mean, The Divine Toad is a modern retelling of Dante's Inferno set in Silicon Valley. But both Tyler grew up in Silicon Valley, and I'm a transplant. Both of us have worked in Silicon Valley, and I think it's a microcosm that encapsulates both the best of America, but it also is the dreams of grandeur, right? Those impossible dreams. And so our character Gordo, sort of like Willy Loman, he has all those amazing qualities about him, but he also has, kind of the fatal flaw that he can't quite be happy until he kind of reaches that stage.
So who is did you guys set out on the writing of this project together from the onset?
T, do you want to answer that?
Oh, yeah, Adam, that one's yours.
Well, actually, so we both kind of came at it from different places. I'd always wanted to kind of do a modern allegory that retold Dante's Inferno, which is the descent. And in our case, Gordo gets, our main character gets stage 4 terminal cancer that both literally and figuratively takes him down through the 9 circles of hell. And then Tyler, right, who's probably, you can tell, I'm more the straight man. He's more the effusive one, always wanted to talk about the other side, right? Going to Paradiso. And maybe Tyler, you want to talk about the Divine Toad and the other side of the equation.
Well, if you've ever been to paradise, let me tell you once or twice how great it is to smoke a little DMT and the ecstasy and the fantasy that it brings you. There's a toad that lives in the Sonoran Desert, which is northern Mexico, southern Arizona. And that toad has venomous glands to protect itself against, defend itself against potential predators. And if you were to go and find this toad and secrete its glands, which I don't encourage you to do because these toads are being over harvested right now, you will get a chemical, a toxin that if you were to vaporize in a vaporizer has a compound in it called 5-MeO-DMT, and which is a highly potent hallucinogen, very similar to DMT, which you've probably heard of. It's a variant of that. There's a synthetic version, so I don't encourage anyone to go after the toad. Again, it's kind of endangered right now. There's a lot of New York Times, Wall Street Journal articles on this, and Mike Tyson endorses the toad too. So you've probably heard about this. Jason, have you heard about the toad?
I've heard about it very faintly, but this answers one of my questions. But then also leads to the other question: How did that idea come to be? Is this based on experience? How did you work this into the script? Where'd the inspiration come from?
That's definitely your question, Tyler.
I was once at Burning Man when a man came from the sand and he brought me that venomous gland, and I took a toke. Oh, it wasn't a joke. I went all the way to the cosmic radiation background and back. Personal experience with the substance has really just shown me that there it's what I find is two things. One, it's a reminder that the constant big miracle of the life existence is happening at every given moment. Now and now and now, and all the moments we've had and all the moments we will have. Big miraculous reminder that this is the big thing that's happening. It's always right now.
It was pretty clever. I like that part of the story, the script. It was fun, and it also seemed like there's a lot of free form or improv. I guess was there improv, or was it based on the script solely? Was the acting from the script purely?
So dirty secret, and hopefully we're not giving it away to the audience. Is it's
Well, hopefully they watched the movie already after watching the.
yeah, hopefully you watched the movie, but yeah, it's 100% improv. So
Oh wow! Okay.
it's cool. Tyler's multi filmmaking talent. Both of us made multiple movies which were highly scripted, and we've kind of adopted our style. So our last film, Mermaids and Manatees, played at the SF Independent Film Festival. That was also 100% improv. And we adopted the Dogma 95, but maybe we pushed it even farther, right? We do all natural light setting, no props, indoor, outdoor, everything's natural. But then we said, well, let's take it one step further. So we build the spine of the story. So we know what, act 1, act 2, act 3, we have a main motivation, but we found particularly with non-professional actors that giving them the intent of the scene, you actually find something much more interesting. Now, again, you live with that in the editing room, but some of the performances, the dynamics, like for example, when Tyler's on the rock, with Gordo, and they're talking over each other, and you feel this passion and intensity. It's really hard to get that unless you've got Robert De Niro.
Right. Unless you casted brilliant actors.
Right.
Well, the acting is really believable. One of the favorite scenes for me is that the doctor. I mean, the doctor almost seemed like a doctor, and that's a good thing. I was wondering, like, is that a true actor, or is that just a friend that's a doctor that knew how to present himself with the information? And I found it really humorous when he was like, the dialogue was something like, "You're doomed. You're dead. You got 2 days. You're going to be 6 feet under. You're going to decompose." Was that improv?
That was all improv. So yeah, actually, Felix Ajeckum is one of our good friends. He's a Silicon Valley CEO. He's a brilliant PhD, kind of award-winning entrepreneur. Has been multiple times kind of a serial entrepreneur, but he is so brilliant, right? His background was as a scientist before he became a Silicon Valley entrepreneur, and I don't know. I couldn't think of anyone better for that role, and he just fell right into it.
Yeah.
And then, as you see, as our main character Gordo gets stage 4 terminal cancer, he goes through the 9 circles, and one of the 9 circles of hell is you get confronted by the rationalists. So, we weren't trying to overplay the hand, but we were trying to just sort of, and so that was in essence like if a doctor was really telling you what is the truth versus maybe the nice thing you're supposed to hear. Well, that's the most logical, rational thing to tell you is like, hey, it's over.
Yeah, it's not good news. So, well, then you're inspiring many questions here. Then the lead character, Gordo, pretty hyper and chaotic performance. Is that the way he is, or was that his delivery?
T, what do you think?
Gordo is a high octane individual. He actually, he's not old, but he's not also the youngest guy, but he plays rugby with guys 20 years younger than himself. He's one of those high octane, 150,000% extremely energized people who needs 3 hours of sleep and get up and go.
Wow.
And when we approached him with the movie, it was a big resounding yes. And he brought the energy and heat to every single scene he did. It was we'd say, here's your emotion, here's your beat. And he was one of those actors too, that thought so much about his character that if we asked him to do something or say something and he didn't think it worked well with the character, he's like, I'm not sure my character would do that. Right. And so it was incredible. I truly believe that with a little bit of polishing, he's got the potential to be an actual incredible actor, because this is his first time ever doing anything like this, and he brought an incredible performance. So
he's not a full-time actor, a professional actor?
He's a professional investment banker. Yeah, so I'd known him, right? So,
Wow.
Tyler and I, like I said, worked in Silicon Valley for a long time and met a lot of characters. And so we made our prior film called Mermaids and Manatees. He had a bit role and he did such an incredible job. I looked at Tyler, I was like, holy cow, this guy's a natural. When I was in film school, you get 10,000 resumes for, a
Right.
film, and people would come in and you'd audition them. And there were so many people that just were trying so hard and didn't have talent. And he and I looked at each other. And so the other part, I guess, of saying why we made this film is we wanted to build an entire film that was built around him, built around someone who had that charisma, that energy, but also had that unfulfilled drive, right? And so
Yeah.
the story of Gordo in the film, which is different than his life, in life he's very successful, but it's about a character who's been hanging around Silicon Valley and he's been trying to get that deal, right? He hasn't ever quite gotten it. And I think in some ways, everyone who lives in this environment can connect with it, but he just took it and ran with it. And it was amazing.
So did you have a casting process, or did you just go to the actors that you envisioned or that you wrote for and approach them with the script?
We just approached it. We didn't even give him a script. We said, we're not telling you the story until you show up on set. So I don't know if you're a Cassavetes fan, but I was always a big Cassavetes fan. And, there was a little bit of, so for example, one of the best scenes, I think, is where Gordo confronts the big investor that we call the White Whale. And neither of them had ever met each other. And neither of them, up to that moment, knew how the scene was going to turn out. Gordo actually thought he was going to get the money. And we told the White Whale, no matter what, and she was my lawyer. So at Sunbasket, the company that Tyler and I co-founded, she's a Harvard trained lawyer. We said, no matter what, you're going to take that guy down. And when she starts just coming at him, he had no idea. And you could see he starts throwing out all these ideas. And so there's a lot of fun, I think. Again, we only learned this, I guess it's the convenience of super low budget filmmaking, which is no script, no props, natural lighting. You get this real intensity that you might lose when you build all the artifice. And by the way, I love films that do all those things, but our style didn't do it.
Well, it's even, this Q&A is really fun and revealing too. It's fun to have this Q. It's almost like I want to listen to this Q&A before I watch the movie, but it's cool to learn that that's how you did these things. Wow.
That boat scene was only one take too. And you've got a multi-minute scene that's one take. We shot it and then
you didn't throw them in the water multiple times?
I fell in once. That was
the last shot of the day.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so it was run and gun. It's like low budget running gun, Dogma 95, no permits, no permissions, if you will.
Yeah. So if you look at all those sets, so most of the house was my house, which had this terrible swimming pool that's needed to be remodeled for the last 30 years. The doctor scenes were actually shot in Tyler and my former startups. It was basically the office that was supposed to be set as an office.
Right.
And, we tried to we added some sound effects. So it sounds like, there's things going on in the background. And then obviously the office scene. So yeah, everything there was zero permits, zero lighting setups. And, to be honest, both Tyler and I have done all of that.
Yeah.
And there's great reasons to do that, but there's a lot of fun and liberation in not doing that as well.
I bet. And it's like the El Mariachi approach, if you will. Robert Rodriguez, what resources do we have? Let's use that. How do we write that into the story?
Yeah.
The thing that was fascinating is that some of the stuff where you're watching, where we have shot, reverse shot, that was actually, some of those shots were shot as one master, but cameras, are so high res now that we could literally cut in and we made coverage when there was no coverage. So for example, the office scenes where you're seeing my character who plays sort of the stooge that's kind of standing in between Gordo and the White Whale, that scene, not surprisingly, I'm not a professional actor, ran slow. And so we literally recut from not much coverage to make it way more, we jump cut it and made it a lot more dynamic.
Fascinating. Well, you should have put some of Tyler's music in there, a piano playing. Maybe for the next movie.
It's not too late. The festival hasn't happened yet. So.
This is your cue to play a little tune, by the way.
Well, if you really want me to, oh God, that was an attitude. And a minute.
Okay. So what was the most difficult scene? Was that one of the most difficult scenes, or was there a challenging scene, or what was the most challenging thing making the movie?
The most challenging thing. So we both have two kids. We both are running businesses, multiple businesses, and the most challenging thing is just scheduling this. Getting everything dialed in to have this time and to get the multiple days. And once we have that, everything else kind of falls into place. But
So
life is. What's that?
So you just kind of, how long was the shooting production days? And then did you just kind of do this off hours or on weekends or take off time from work?
See,
We had one big production weekend where we crammed, I'd say 80% of the movie in, and then we did a few of the auxiliary scenes a couple other days. I think there were 5 or 6 production days spread out over about a month, and then a year editing.
Yeah, cool. And so
Very slow. Yeah.
was there no scripted dialogue? Like, I have in my note here, I love some of the dialogue comparing Pete's decaf coffee with toad venom.
yeah, that's all ad lib. So what we did do
There was
is
no script. There was nothing printed, no paper.
and literally
Wow.
we would just tell them to beat his ex. The one thing we did learn from prior making films is we had a professional boom and we had a professional DP because, having been in the editing room, you still at the end of the day have to cut it together. And so, I had a great teacher when I was at UCLA whose name was Delia Salvi, and she talked about the art of the scene. And really, even when you have a script, you're trying to give each actor kind of one core objective or one core thing. And that's really what we tried to do, to clear their brains. Once in a while, we did do a little bit of blocking. So like there is some blocking, like, where they're sitting, where they're standing, just so that you can frame. But yeah, it was a lot of that fun stuff you're seeing comes directly from the actor. So we can't take credit for it. It comes from that.
Impressive. Well, then what can you take credit for? How was co-directing? Like, if you guys, like, that had to be difficult. How was that? Tell me about that process.
Do you want to try it?
Adam and I have been friends for a very long time, and we also have been kind of deeply entrenched in business environment as well, and just have a really good way of communicating and working well with each other. And there are certain battles that were more important for me and less important for him, and vice versa. And I think when Adam had a vision on an aspect of the film, I just trusted him, and he did the same for me. And so for us, so much of it is about the process even more so than the outcome, the final film. For us, it's about getting creative with friends and getting in that production spirit. There's an adrenaline rush, as every filmmaker knows. When you get into their production days, sleep doesn't matter. You're just slurping back coffee left and right, and you're eating food as more of a fuel mechanism than an enjoyment. Yes, exactly. So we love to be in that mode. We love everything about it. So the co-directing, just because of the nature of our relationship, just naturally works.
Right. I'm sure your relationship in business has helped, probably even before you made your first movie. Then you got through the first movie successfully, and you're like, we can do this again.
Yeah, and I think actually the improv and the jazz element, I mean, a big thing that Tyler and I try to focus on, and it's really hard in life, it's hard in marriages, but basically going to and versus or. Like we really try to build on each other. Like when he comes up with a scene, I was like, oh, but what about if this happened? And then what about if this happens? Mm-hmm. And when you have that energy, of course, sometimes you dial it back and you follow a thread, but in essence, like the two main spines of the story, right? I was kind of obsessed in my head. I kept saying, Tyler, we got to tell the story of the descent. And he said, yeah, but I want to tell this other story. And then somehow, by kind of just riffing back and forth, we kind of fused, in essence, those two spines, which became two storylines: the story of the son, the story of the father. And I actually think, it doesn't always work this way, but in this case, our collaboration, and also Tyler is an incredibly generous soul, and you could tell also incredibly fun soul. So it allows that tension that you might have in the room maybe to dissipate and really just kind of, make things more light and more creative.
So it sounds like set was not fun. It doesn't sound like a fun set for you guys. Did you guys have some fun times while making this movie?
What do you think?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, the whole process is fun. I think because of the element of improv and not knowing what to expect the moment you said action, and especially with people like Gordo who were just so hilarious, that made it more exciting. Also, for me, I was I was in the movie a lot, so it was
Yeah.
fun to be behind the camera at times and say, "Oh, this is one of my scenes." Just pop in front of the camera. So it was a little bit of a merry-go-round.
Tell me about that. You know, I'm a filmmaker too, but I'm intimidated by being a co-director, cinematographer, or actor, or whatever. How was the kind of dual hats for you? Was it challenging, or you had Adam, you know, as your backup, so to speak?
Yeah, I'm a pretty extroverted person, but don't actually I don't find a lot of comfort in acting. It's such a special skill, and I think there's a lot of people who just really take it on. So because I'm uncomfortable doing it, it makes me in a way want to do it more because it seems so easy when there's no camera around and you're thinking about your character, and then the moment they say action, you just kind of get lost. You're almost the deer in the headlights type. So it's something that I would love to continue working on and have at least some part in the movie just to explore the nature of acting a little bit more.
But and
I think
isn't improv harder too, or was it easier? I mean,
I
like,
personally think,
how many
I think
takes do you have to do too. Like, what if
Yeah.
like if the line you deliver a line, but it's not good, it's just mediocre, it doesn't support the story or the you know the arc of the story or whatever.
Yeah, for me, improv is so much easier because lines you're trying so hard to get to sound authentic. Or if you're improv, at least it's rolling off your mouth in somewhat of an authentic way. So what in this film in particular, I really tried to hold on to the emotion more than anything, and then let all the words kind of grow from the soil of the emotion that I
Mhm.
was trying to harbor in myself. So if I was frustrated with Gordo, which I am a lot in this film,
Right.
I'm upset with my father. I think I could have spent a little more time thinking about the depth of our relationships and the multi decades that got us to where we were to kind of, but that to me makes it so much easier. I'm
It-
in an
it-
emotional state and I'm reacting from there.
Right. And did being a father, you said you have two daughters, I think, did that help in your performance at all? You know, relating to Gordo, like saying, you know, set me free or whatever the dialogue was at the
Uh,
time?
I think that's more just being a son that made
Ah,
me feel that way.
ah, okay.
My
Yeah,
my
makes
kids
sense.
my kids are micro.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Makes
yeah.
sense. And
So
how did you guys get started with improv? Like, did you take improv classes? Are you part of an improv group, or you just like this, you know, genre, if you will?
T, what do
um,
you think?
Do you guys
yeah,
partake in improv outside of the movie making thing? You know, because there's improv groups all over the Bay Area.
yeah, yeah. Not really. I mean, I read Keith Johnston's improv book, but life is kind of an improv. Business is improv.
Yeah.
So there's so much improv in our daily lives, and
Don't they even like,
yeah.
you know, some corporate America companies bring in improv field trips, if you will, or improv, you know, days to go and teach their colleagues how to, I don't know, loosen up or communicate or whatever it would be.
Yeah,
I think,
it'd be in the moment. Yeah.
Be in the moment.
yeah, I think one thing that really, really helped us is because there was this camaraderie and a kinship and closeness on the set, and you can't fake that, right? Like if there's tension on the set, there's tension and it shuts everyone down because of like the generosity of Tyler's spirit, and because, you know, we kept building people up. And, you know, I think over time, like everyone was supporting each other and it built an environment. So yeah, I'd say neither Tyler and I are professional improv actors. At the same time, we found some people, and some of it, I don't know, the casting of the people. So like Mary, as an example, is our sound designer's wife. And I was like, oh my gosh, she would be perfect for this role because she has a natural concern for others. And so we found elements of people who've never acted before in her life, even though her husband is an Emmy award-winning sound designer. Was my realtor, right? So it's kind of funny how we're all connected in this other part of the world. But I remember as my realtor, the way she acted, and maybe not acted, but the way, you know, we interacted. And so we found that in her. And then, you know, the girlfriend that comes over to talk to Gordo is actually Tyler's wife, right? So there are all these different kind of, I guess, layers, both in real life and then in the movie as well.
Right, right. Fun. Well, you know, it makes it come across fresher and truer, and it's a pleasure to watch. You know, these quirky people interacting, and then love the local backdrop. How was shooting in San Francisco or the Bay Area?
See, what do you think?
our backyard, so it made things
Yeah.
real easy for us.
It's always fun to see your
Yeah.
hometown on the screen. You know, the Marina Green,
Yeah.
Marin.
Are you in the city?
Yeah. Calling from San Francisco,
Oh, God, whereabouts?
Noe Valley.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah. So a walk to the Roxy, where the festival's going to take place.
Oh, hopefully we see you.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's meet in person. And maybe one more question. What's your takeaway from this project? What'd you learn? Hey, hi there.
There's the most important one.
What did we learn?
Was she the line producer? Did she?
She was actually she was the baby in the wedding scene. Can you
Ah,
believe? Yeah, she's grown up. It's been maybe a little over a year since we
Okay.
got it. What did you learn, Z-Man?
Well, I mean, for me, it was a cathartic experience. I mean, having been the CEO now of multiple startups and having had some that went wildly wrong and then some who've had more success, this like delusions of grandeur and this striving. I mean, ultimately, the moral of the story, right, without giving the film away, is that there is another path. There is, maybe even an unexpected path. And I think, Tyler and I sort of I've never smoked the toad. Tyler wants me to smoke the toad. And so in a way, like, it was almost like cathartic. It was like living through that experience by making the film. I think some of my energy, like in the case of Gordo, got transposed by the end of the film. And every film makes you, when you make it, to me, like the most, I write stories and books and stuff, but the big difference between stories and books and movies is in a story or a book, I mean, you still have some energy that's flowing through you in writing. But when you work at a film, you actually have the energy of others. And it's those surprises about, how they interact. That's part of the excitement of also improv, is what happens in those moments is just magic. Like you said, Felix, like the moments he was the doctor, I was like, holy cow, this guy is the doctor, right? And that experience is, I don't know, that kind of touches you forever, I think.
Yeah, I would just say that, in college, you're asking your friends to do all this free work and everything like that. And then as you get older, it gets harder and harder to enlist your friends to do anything for free. But because this project is coming from a place of passion within Adam and I, the love for filmmaking, we were able to get our friends together who were interested in being a part of this experience to do this.
Are all your collaborators on this film going to work with you again?
Sure hope so. Because the price is right.
Yeah, the big challenge is, for example, like we put a non-professional actor and there's there's scenes where he's not fully clothed. And so there's a big trust process with that. And then we say, well, oh, by the way, the next film is going to be even crazier, right? And so that I think, having them now see the project, I think they all feel kind of good because, we put a lot of time into the editing and kind of the post, but we like the idea. Maybe that's a long way of saying, I like the repertoire, the kind of repertory kind of feel where you have those same actors and you see some directors that do that over and over. And I don't know, it's interesting. It's almost like a more theatric kind of way of filmmaking, but at the same time, it's a way that, you can kind of work with people and kind of make some pretty neat stuff together.
Yeah, work with friends. And so is there another project kind of in the back of your heads, or you're working on?
50 projects.
We've got one that we won't tell you what story is, but it's called Digital Cowboy.
Ooh.
And
or we have a new working title now.
Oh yeah, Tyler has a different one called
Unicorn.
I like it.
Spell with a K. Unicorn with a K.
I like it.
Yeah.
Right on.
So our kind of thing, just kind of, we feel like we're in San Francisco and we should tell the stories of San Francisco, right? Like, I think 100 years from now, San Francisco, not to be egocentric or city-centric, but the internet's the biggest thing that's happened in the last couple 100 years. And telling all the stories of all the different interesting characters that live around here, it sounds like that's probably something you do too. I just think it's an amazing place to tell stories. And it's what we know, and it's also a lot cheaper. So, and it's also more fun playing at local festivals. Like we're so lucky that, we're playing at the Roxy. That's literally around the corner from Tyler's restaurant. So, it's pretty fun.
Oh, what's your restaurant? Quick plug.
Western Pecos, come on down.
All right, love that place.
Valencia. Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah. Been there many
10
times.
years.
Well, hey, we got to wrap this up because I got another Q&A come up. Do you guys have any last words you want
Thank
to say?
you for this interview and chat. I hope it was good and it didn't sound like cats.
Woo! All right, guys. Well, it was a pleasure meeting you. I will definitely meet you in person very soon.
Yeah.
Congratulations, not only on completing your film, that's a hard task in itself, but getting in our festival. Thank you for making it.
Thank you so much. It's a big honor.
All right, guys. Pleasure meeting you, and see you soon. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching this Q&A, and support indie film at sfindie.com. See you at the movies.